He is Black Guy Fawkes, and the other guy usually tells a not great joke here, and together they are Fawkes and friends. The third friend joining them today to talk about creativity and social justice is Billy Liar.
1, 2, 3, 4. From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, what he got is fucking wrong. His land's not made for you and me. We're chatting built that wall as we tear down bottom stalls and watch our kids get slaughtered as they run straight through the hall. Let's go!
So, as you can tell, I am not Black Guy Fawkes. I am also not Ed. They are bunked up in a hotel room in Rochester, New York, on the road to Canada because Black Guy Fawkes will be opening for Laura Jane Grace, the punk rock icon, and playing 2 dates with her and her band, the Mississippi Medicals, as well as Pigeon. Tickets for tonight in Kingston, Ontario at the Broom Factory are sold out. But tomorrow, May 15th, you can check out Black Guy Fawkes, Pigeon, and Laura Jane Grace and the Mississippi Medicals at the Axis Bar. Tickets are going fast, so snag yours today. Then, as previously planned, Black Guy Fawkes will be playing the Pouzza pre-party at Turbo House and Big Trouble with Dylan Lana, Bad Bad Bird, Kali Massey, and a bunch of others. You can also check him out Friday, May 17th at Cafe Big Trouble. So many of their friends old and new will be playing Pouzza. Catbite, Laura Jane Grace, Proper, and of course, today's guest, Billy Liar, who is playing solo Saturday and full band on Sunday. Let's get into Ian and Ed's talk with Billy Liar right now.
Billy Liar, welcome to Faulkner Friends. How are you doing today, my friend? Good to have you on.
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, happy to be here.
Lovely to have you. I'm excited. We get to play Pouzza together.
Yeah, it's my first time in Canada. Have you played Pouzza before?
I am not. This is also my first year, so I'm looking forward to it. Heard lots
Nice.
of good things about both Pouzza and just Montreal in general.
Yeah,
So-
I heard Montreal's an awesome place.
What are you looking forward to most about going to Canada? Both of you.
I mean, I've never been there before, and I love just going to new places. It's just really exciting. Pouzza, I've only heard good things about it as a festival. Lots of my friends that have played there have just said it's an amazing place, and it's just supposed to be like a really fun weekend. So I just love trying new things and meeting new people, and festivals are great for that. So looking forward to that. The lineup's amazing as well. But
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm also a foodie too, so I'm excited just to try out poutine. And like you said, lineup is just stacked. So I'm excited for Laura Jane Grace. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for Against All Authority, Make War. I'm excited for Rebuilder, Proper. Like so many bands are going to be there. It's just going to be just so much fun. So I'm curious. So I discovered you through Frank because he sang on the Grony, and then I checked out your record Crisis Actor. So I'm curious where the title of the album came from.
the title came from, it's in the song Oblivion. And I always liked album titles that the album title came from a song, but it's buried in the song rather than the title of a song. So it's not like the name of the first track or the name of the first single, or it's just something that's buried in there. Obviously, the term crisis actor is quite like a loaded term in kind of the internet age and conspiracy theories and everything that we're living through just now. But I just thought it was an interesting term to use in a different context because the album is about kind of different forms of crises, and then acting like you're in crisis is an interesting concept to me. That's a longer way of saying it's just it's taken from a lyric on one of the songs. It's from the song Oblivion. It's in the bridge of Oblivion, and I thought it was interesting. But
It's a fantastic record. I gotta say, I was listening to it today. I was listening to it like a few days ago, and it reminds me like a good bit of like that. I feel like we're like 90s punk revival, so I hear like a little bit of Offspring in there. I hear a lot of I feel like maybe like Nimrod era Green Day a little bit. Like I like some of those rhythms, so just some of those like chord progressions and everything. Like what were you listening to at the time of that?
I go into all sorts of different things. I listened to Lawrence Arms a lot when I wrote that record. I was really delving into their back catalog and kind of thinking about the way they write songs. I also listen to Alkaline Trio a lot, but then also, a lot of the rhythms I go into are kind of older punk rhythms, which I think Green Day definitely borrowed from. And then also like old rock and roll and also garage punk, just like a whole bunch of stuff that, it's like really fast, but it's got like interesting, weird chord sequences. And it sounds simple, but when you try and play it, you're a bit like, oh, that's more complicated than I thought it was. I always like songs like that. Like they sound really straightforward, but then if you work them out, you realize they do something weird. That's always been interesting to me. Like, oh, that's a weird minor, or it's weird that it's gone there, and it's weird that it does it 3 times instead of 4. Just like songs that surprise you a little bit.
Going into the songwriting process and your songwriting process in particular, can you walk us through like kind of how a song forms for you? Are you you start with the words kind of guy, or do you start with the music first, or like what typically happens when you're in the writing mode?
Every song is slightly different. Sometimes it's lyrics and sometimes it's music. It usually happens in a kind of organic way where I have ideas for things in the back of my head, whether it's music or lyrics. And then when I'm doing the other thing, the other thing comes back, if that makes any sense. So if I'm working on a particular song lyrically, I might have an idea that I've been playing around with on the guitar, and then I'll just try it out with that lyric. And if it works, then great. But the Crisis Actor record I wrote differently to the way I've written in the past, which means that I wrote all of that album during lockdown, and I kind of approached it like I was doing a big task, if that makes any sense. I hadn't done that before. The Some Legacy record is the record I put out before that, and that was a record that was written over a long period of time. So that was like a culmination of years of writing, whereas Crisis Actor was all written at once. So for that record, I sat down every day. Like I got up early in the morning and I wrote every single day, and I wrote a lot for it, and then I worked on those songs. But some of them I was still writing them in the studio as well, which is the first time I'd done that. Like on the Some Legacy record, there was one song at the end, which I wrote on the piano, and I wrote there and then in the studio just because I had an idea. But this record, a lot of the songs were finished lyrically in the studio. I just loved the buzz of being there. We were in a studio in Belgium for 8 days, and we were like sleeping in the studio and recording every day. So waking up at, 8 in the morning and going into the studio at 9, and then working in the studio from 9 until, 10 at night, and then doing the same again every single day. We didn't leave the studio for most of the time we were there, apart from to go to see Frank play, because he came and recorded his vocals on the second day, and then we went to see him at night. And then every other day we were just in the studio all day, every day, like going out of our minds. But that meant that I wrote some of the songs there and then.
See, yeah, it's interesting because I also spent maybe my first record. I spent like 2 days in the studio. Like, so we had when we recorded, we had like a limited amount of time. We only had like 2 days to do it, so we had to jam 10 songs in just 2 days. Just try to crank them out as fast
Wow.
as we did. My last full band record, we took our time with it, and we kind of we recorded in the course of maybe 3 to 4 months. I feel like writing it. It took me pretty much all of lockdown, all the pandemic to write. So I'm curious for you. Were there any songs off the record you wrote a bit during lockdown? When was you recorded in 20? When was it fully recorded?
Well, it came out at the end of 2023. We recorded it in 2022. I think we recorded it at the start of the year in 2022. And then it takes a while to mix it and then get it mastered. And then, I mixed it, and then it took a bit of time to figure out who was going to put the record out. And then, working with that label, getting it fully mixed, getting the track listing, all the stuff that you have to do, getting the track listing together. I changed the names of the songs a lot towards the final stage, and then we had to get the artwork together and start to make videos and think about the release process and stuff. So I think it was the start of 2022 that we recorded it.
That's one of the reasons I really like talking about this process stuff, because I think a lot of people like in my shoes who don't do music and don't have any talent kind of miss a lot of the work part that goes into it. That in many respects, it is a job, and there are things that have to be done, and there are deadlines, and there are, probably parts that are less fun than other parts. And I think that kind of gets missed a lot in discussions about music. What's the part that feels most like a job when you guys are putting something together?
I guess like the traveling aspect can be quite exhausting sometimes. Like I love being places, but long distances can be pretty exhausting. But I like traveling, and I like listening to music, and I like talking to my friends when I'm traveling. I don't know, it never really feels like a job to me. but it is a big part of my life. Like, you know, I do have a life back home, but all the time I'm thinking about music, and I'm answering emails, and I'm booking shows, and I'm thinking about artwork, and I'm, you know, trying to write songs and rehearse songs. And so it is a job in terms of the amount of stuff I have to do, but thankfully it doesn't feel like a job to me.
I feel like booking shows is pretty much the bulk of the work, honestly. So and sometimes that gets teased because you're always wondering, wait, when you're going to hear back, and wait, or anything like that. And then you see people say, come to this place, come to this place, come to this place. Like, all these ever see, like, guys, I'm trying to.
That's what I'm trying.
Recording during the beginning of it is a lot of fun. Then when you get to like maybe like the 10th or like 56th take of what you're trying to record, that's where you're like, I just want to go home now. But sometimes that can be fun. And it's all about just like finding that energy. And sometimes, like, when people listen to records, they don't really hear the tiredness of that 56 take that you have. But it just still turns out pretty well. When we recorded Life Up in the Bomb, we just trying to have fun with it. Me, my producer, we were recording the intro song for this show, the lead single of New American Meltdown. I remember I went to his house. We recorded all at Derek Shank's house. Shout out to him. And I brought over like 4 6-packs of like these like Imperial IPAs and stouts. And we got rip shit and just recorded all the vocals. And it was just the fucking glorious thing to just coming up with like new ideas. So
Nice.
when you get tired, it feels like work, but then when you find like new energy, or when you just have the right people around you, it becomes like not work. Like you want to have fun with it. How would you compare your tour experience like in the UK and in like mainland compared to the US?
Well, it's longer drives in America for sure. It's longer drives. The UK is very small, so people complain. You know, some UK bands complain about, you know, traveling for 2 hours or something. I mean, you were talking about people complaining about, you know, your touring, like your tour booking, like, oh, come to my place, and then you go, well, I'm trying. But in the UK, like distances, some people don't travel. You know, they won't get on a train and travel for 45 minutes to get to the next city to go to a show. So, but they'll just say, come to my, you know, they basically want you to play in their back garden, which is sort of ridiculous. But it's also perspective. You know, I've toured in America a lot now, and so I'm used to traveling for, you know, 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, you know, and then playing. But mainland Europe can be like that too. I mean, it's just different. It's just a different form of traveling. The UK is small, but it's got a good grassroots scene, and it's got a good amount of bars and venues to play. Europe, like mainland Europe, has got a lot of places that are like squats. So it's like punk venues, and it's squats that are like, they're not like illegal. They're like often known about by the government, and sometimes they're funded by the government because they're funded as like an arts thing. The UK doesn't have that, but often like in Belgium and Germany and things, their squats are funded. Like the opera or theater would be funded in the UK, but nothing else is. In other countries, like these punk venues, they're run by anarchists, and kids are funded by the government, which is bizarre to me, but cool, because that means you can play cool shows there. And then America, you know, I grew up in a lot of American music, so the first time I went there, it was like I had big white eyes, and I just loved traveling there, and I loved the history of it, and the kind of how every state is different, and the food is quite, you know, exciting for me. Yeah, and like the record shops and the bars and all the cool stuff that you can do.
What food was the highlight for you? Because we tend to talk about food a lot on this show. And I'm just curious, like your first time in the US, like what blew you away
Oh.
food wise?
I mean, just everything. I always look for good coffee. You know, I always look for good coffee spots. That's really important to me. But I also like the filter coffee that you can get in gas stations. Like, I'm not a snob. I really like espresso coffee, but I also like filter coffee. The diners, like I really like the diners, and the ones that are open late at night that are pretty close to, you know, motels if you're staying in them, like a Super 8. And there's like, I don't know, which one's the late night one? It's not Denny's, is it? But what's the late night
Mark's.
diner?
Waffle House?
Waffle House is good. I like Waffle House a lot. Yeah. I've got a Waffle House cup here, but from last time I was there. But what's the one that they go to on the American Office? I can't remember it.
Is it Chili's?
Chili's. Yeah, Chili's. I went to my first Chili's last time I was there, and I really liked that. We sat at the bar and we could eat food pretty late, and that was really good. But also, like, for, you know, it was a novelty the first time I went over for Taco Bell. Like, we've got Taco Bell now in the UK, It's not the same at all. The first time I went over, I'd never heard of Taco Bell. I didn't know what that was. I like looking at, wherever I'm going, like I like to look and try and find what the local thing is. Like what's the thing that is famous here and what are the highlights here? And we always try and do like stuff during the day because even if you're traveling a long way, you want to find out where you are and why you're there. And like I often play Fest, which is in Gainesville, Florida, and that's over Halloween or like very close to Halloween. And I'd done it a lot of times at this point, so we were trying to think of something to do that would be interesting during the day on the shows. So we did a whole tour called the Spooky Bullshit Tour, where we tried to do as much haunted stuff during the days as possible. So we went to like Salem and we went to like graveyards and haunted houses, and we went to a place called the Archive of the Afterlife in West Virginia, which is like in an old high school. And this guy's got all this creepy stuff in there, which we were thinking would be funny. But then once we were in there, it was not funny at all. It was like people's like execution masks and all sorts of weird, horrible stuff. But I mean, it's still cool, but it's very freaky. But that's quite far away from your food related question. But
If you're ever in New Orleans, like during October, I highly recommend at the end of it, go to their what's called the Crew of Boo. Basically, it's just a giant Halloween themed parade, and it's just on in New Orleans, and it is one of the coolest things you can ever go to. And just New Orleans in general has the best food that you can ever try.
So we did go there on the Spooky Bullshit Tour, but there was like, we got in very late at night and it was a night off because we had a long day of traveling. And then I think we were just there for like the night and the morning of the next day. But we managed to fit in a graveyard, went to like a massive graveyard, and we went to a Voodoo Museum.
I went up for the first time like 2023, like during Halloween. It was just fucking magical. It was so cool because there's all these different floats, and also everybody on the series is all dressed up in costumes as well too, and they're like throwing out beads at you and everything. So it's so much fun.
Well, I've just written that down. Like I have to go to that.
What would be your favorite states to visit?
I've spent a lot of time on the East Coast, so most of the tours I've done have been around Fest. So I've spent a lot of time in kind of upper East Coast, like New York and Massachusetts, New Jersey, and then basically everywhere in between there and in Florida. So I spent a lot of time in, Tennessee, in Ohio, North Carolina, South Carolina, a lot of places like that. I really like, wherever there's been like fun, particularly like fun stuff to do. Like I really like Memphis, Tennessee. Like I went to Sun Studios, and if you play music and you go there and you give them a record, then they give you a free tour, which was really cool. And the bars there are really fun. But I really liked, like New Orleans and New York and Boston. And I've started playing in California more the last few years, and LA is really fun. Like just the bar scene there is really fun, and the venues are cool. There's plenty more to explore. I've been to a lot of states, but there's always more to see. So
What should Ian check out when he starts playing over on your side of the world?
in Scotland.
Yeah. We're going to get him there.
Sure, yeah. I just meant like Scotland or the UK.
Or the UK in general, yeah.
Wherever the local stuff is good to do. Scotland's quite beautiful in places. You should definitely try and be here during the summer because it gets pretty wet and dark a lot of the year, especially the higher north that you go. But Scotland's got a lot of beautiful places. It's worth getting off the beaten track and if you've got a car or like hire a car and just try and get up into the mountains and see things and go to Loch Ness. Like you can go to where like the Loch Ness monster is supposed to be. Edinburgh's very beautiful. That's where I'm from. It's very touristy, but it's touristy because it's a beautiful place to go. I live in Dundee just now, and that's a nice town too. It's smaller than Edinburgh. I've been here for 6 years on and off now, and it's really cool.
I'm curious. What is music scene like in Scotland? Like especially like around your area, like DIY or just like big names? Because I know, of course, I know you also know of one artist that you know, but I also like really loved as a musician, which is Frightened Rabbit, Scott Hutchinson. So what is music scene like around your area and just DIY around Scotland?
Yeah, it's cool. It's small, it's a small place, but there's a scene for it. Like growing up in Edinburgh, it's pretty DIY. I was a teenager playing in bars, and I started playing in punk gigs when I was a teenager. there was a biker bar where I had a residency like once a week for a while when I was only like 15, 16. But I discovered DIY shows like when I was 16. I went to see a band called Oi Polloi. They're from Edinburgh, and I'd never heard of them, but they were playing the local venue, which was Studio 24 at the time. And when I got there, they were setting up their equipment on the floor instead of on the stage. And I was like, why are they playing on the floor? I didn't understand. And then they came out and they went crazy, and the whole audience went crazy, and everyone was like crowd surfing and having the best time ever. And I was like, oh, wow, like there's a scene of like people who don't want to be on the stage. What is that? I don't understand. Because I'd been to punk gigs before, but I'd never been to a DIY punk gig, I guess. Apart from gigs that I had literally played that me and my friends had organized as young teenagers. But this was the first one that was like, there's a whole scene of people that are here to see, 3 touring bands, and the headline band is playing on the floor. I'd never seen anything like that. And then there was just a whole scene of that, like DIY punk promoters in Edinburgh. And in the early 90s, like a whole group of Edinburgh DIY punks there's an island off Edinburgh, which is only accessible certain times of the day when the causeway is not covered in water. And when it's not been covered in water, punks carried bags and bags and bags of cement from Edinburgh onto this island, and they built a stage in the early 90s. And every August, there's a punk festival, and everyone meets at a certain time and helps carry all the equipment along this causeway, which is like a mile and a half, onto the stage, like onto the island and then onto the stage, and put on a DIY punk festival every year. People go to the thing, enjoy the festival, and then some people clean up, which is very nice of them. It's all DIY, and then they pack it down and go home. And some people are always like, almost miss it, and they end up, arriving on the island super wet because they've had to race the water to get to the island. But like, I first played that when I was 16, I think, and that was when I just started playing, and I had a band with me, and there was dogs running across the stage, and this wildness. But yeah, there's a cool scene here. It's small, but it's very appreciative of touring bands, and a pretty like huge amount of people in the scene are people that play in bands. But it's like, like I say, it's small, so everyone kind of knows each other. So I knew Crying Rabbit because because I knew Scott through a friend of mine, and they used to live together. So it was kind of, he was just a guy that I met, and it was like, oh, you play in a band? And then I listened to his music, and I thought he was one of the best songwriters I'd ever heard. And then he was just someone that I would meet up with, and go for drinks with, or go and see him play. And he was just a big character on the scene, but he didn't have an ego. So he would go away on tour and then come back and just be someone that would hang out and come and see you play. And yeah, just a real sweetheart. So
He truly seemed like, I hear many stories about him, and his record, The Midnight Orient. Like, I listened to that fucking religiously. I found out about his passing, and I saw how many people were like really fucking shook by that. There's not really much else I can say, but I'll just be on respect because I did love him as like a lyricist and as a songwriter in general. And that's the thing about, I feel like, just DIY community in general, where we just all, like you said, it was very, like you said about your community, it's very tight knit, and and everybody knows each other, and that's very important, in my opinion. Like, the closer you are with each other, the more you're willing to help out one another. Then when somebody gets lifted up, we all win at the day.
100%. Yeah.
Community. This is coined by Vanessa Jean Speckman, but she always said, DIY doesn't mean do it yourself, it means do it with other people. And I fully agree with that statement. It's all about us doing it all together, just trying to build up community, just make our scene just a better and sometimes a safer place for anybody. Just to pick up a guitar, get influence, and just want to start their own band, and just do it 100% different style.
But you started pretty young. What got you into punk in the first place?
I grew up in the early 90s, so there was a big explosion of punk in the early 90s. We all know about a lot of the American bands, things like Tony Hawk. It was just that, it was just everywhere. But, even bands like Blink-182 and The Offspring and Green Day being, and Rancid. And then, I was just a big nerd for music it was just something I was totally obsessed with, and still am, obviously. But it meant that anytime I heard a band mention another band, I would go and check out that band. If I saw a band member wearing a T-shirt, I would go and check that out. If I saw a band name, like I would read the liner notes like it was a religion. So I knew every single, person that engineered on every single record and every single bass player who'd ever played in whichever band. But I would read the thank yous and I would be like, why are they thanking? Right, who's that they're thanking? And it was at a time where, the internet existed, but it was kind of just starting out. And I would go to record shops and like look at the CDs and try and find these bands that I had seen in the thank you list. I would write down lists and then go to record shops and try and find them. And sometimes it was hard in Scotland to find them. I remember the first time I found NoFX, I was in like Portugal, I think. I was on like, my parents took me on holiday or something when I was super young. And I found this like NoFX CD in a record stall. And I was so excited because I didn't know what NoFX sounded like yet, but I'd heard of them. And it was the Decline. And I bought the Decline because it was the cheapest one that they had. And I took it and I listened to it and I was like, oh, wow. I guess they just write these really short songs and then they don't have like spaces on the album. I guess they just, that's cool, I guess. I just figured that's what they did. And that was like a super interesting way of doing it. And I was like, oh, right. Maybe there's a whole scene of bands that do this weird thing I don't know about yet. That's cool. Obviously later on, I found out that that's just the particular like EP, but it's also one of the best songs ever written, in my opinion. But I got into all that, American punk through that. And then my dad had a really good record collection and he was always a big lover of music. So he taught me the first chords on the guitar. And, he was smart enough to know, I remember I bought an Offspring CD, I bought the Americana Offspring album. And then when I played that, my dad said, oh, if you like that, you'll like, the Buzzcocks and, the Ramones. He bought me a Ramones CD. And I just kept going backwards. I just kept being like, right, if I like these bands, what are their influences? And then what are those bands' influences? And what are those bands' influences? And went backwards and backwards and backwards and just found all this new music. And I still do that. That's what I still do. So I got into punk that way. But, just discovering this kind of exciting thing where kind of anyone can be involved. And like you say, it's a community, but it's inspirational thing where, I feel like there's no rock stars. It's just, I almost quoted Frank Turner there, but there's no rock stars. It's people who play music. Some of them are just like us and some of them are dicks. It feels like that, like reading about the Clash, the Clash would, let people into their gigs. Kids couldn't get in the front door, so they would open the windows and let them in through the dressing rooms. Reading about stuff like that was hugely inspirational to me. I was like, wow, that's real. And it is real, like Oi Polloi, where I met them when I was really young at that gig, at that gig that I described where they were playing on the floor. And they've been going since the 80s, like this late 70s, early 80s. They met in high school and they were playing ever since. I met them in the early 2000s. But, when I met them, they were like, what do you do? At the merch table. I was like, that gig was amazing. And they were like, oh, cool. Do you play in a band? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess so. And they were like, oh, we should play some gigs together. And then we started playing gigs together, and they would just ask me to play in different cities. And one year me and my friend went to see them play and said, oh, when is that festival happening? The one on the island. We were like, when's that happening? And they said, oh, it's not happening this year because no one's organizing it. And we were like, oh, what? That's so annoying. Oh, I love that festival. And they were like, cool. Well, what are you organizing? And we were like, oh, what? And they just said, well, you should do it. This is Deke, the singer from Out Loud. So that year, me and my friend organized it. And I think we made a bit of a mess of it because we were like 17 or 18. But we organized it and it happened because we organized it, So I just love it. Punk's just such a inspirational thing, and it's loud and it's fast and it's exciting. So
It is. It makes people like for me discovering punk at a young age, it makes you feel just not alone. Like because people in punk were looked at as outcasts or just weirdos or fucking degenerates, and that may all be true. But
yeah,
we're all together. We just all feel, but we all look out for one another too. Like, and like you said, when it comes to people there's no like real hierarchy. Like, yeah, there are a lot of big bands out there, but usually like you'll probably just will see them like in the crowd or at least like at a merch table like after the show or before the show, just talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's cool seeing just seeing like punk bands make themselves more accessible. And like you're talking about Scott, there's no ego. It's just we'll come hang out. We'll just chill out for a little bit. So
Mhm.
I like to take people who've never been to a punk show to like their first punk show. And a friend of mine up in Boston, I took her to a gig after I was up there to see Ian play. And I asked her like halfway through, like, are you having a good time? And she goes, I just didn't expect this to be this wholesome.
Oh, yeah,
You
that's
know?
nice.
And I was like, I love that. Like, yes, this is
Yeah.
wholesome.
I think a lot of punk gigs are wholesome. Yeah, that's true.
I really am glad I got into punk music. I'm glad I found this, like, especially now, like this community of people, because there are actually people who I feel like there's out for themselves and only care about just pushing themselves aside. But I like seeing that whole community aspect of everybody just working towards like building a better scene and just seeing everybody else get uplifted too. And then staying bands get bigger, then bring along younger bands or something like that too. That's always been like a very big thing for me personally when it comes to pop music. And seeing stuff like Pouzza, where we're seeing like everybody under the fucking sun in Montreal, or just hanging out and just watch each other play, and it's gonna be fun. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to your set, and I'm really excited because also we get to sing a song together. We get to sing My Backwards Walk.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
So,
That's gonna be great fun.
are you gonna be around all weekend, or you just there?
Yeah, we arrive on Friday, and then we'll be there Friday night, and then we play, acoustic on Saturday, and then full band on Sunday. So we don't leave till Monday. So yeah, how about you?
So I get there on the 16th. I'm doing like the pre-Pouzza party that they're having at Turbo House, and
Oh, cool.
and what we call it, hey, Big Cafe, Big Trouble. But I'm pretty much gonna be there pretty much all weekend. So I know I'm meeting up with Catbite because we're gonna have a poutine date, but we also you and I will need to get together and get some food too. This
Oh,
is how I'm
nice.
talking and everything. It'll be a lot of fun.
Promise me you eat a vegetable while you're there, not just cheese, gravy, and potato.
When is that readily accessible, Ed? I can't promise you anything. What food are you looking forward to, Billy?
Yeah, poutine. I've only ever had that in Scotland, so I'm pretty sure it'll be different in Canada. So I gotta try it. I met Catbite in Glasgow recently, about 2 weeks ago. They were on tour with Hallwire Music and Wilhelm Scream, and they were great. They were great live, and they were really nice, like sweethearts. I'm looking forward to seeing them play Pouzza. But
I want to go to that tour so bad because I love Catbite.
Yeah.
And I also just love Chuck Reagan. He's just the sweetest person I've ever met before.
he's a complete sweetheart. Yes, he is.
I think you and I we have Catbite and Cumber also. I think me back up too.
Oh yeah, they're good friends of mine as well. Yeah, I played
That's
with
just
them a
like-
bunch of times. Lynn's great. But yeah.
It's funny. After I leave for Pouzza, I'm going to Long Beach, staying there for 3 days. So I've been meeting up with Lynn and all of them too. So I'm excited.
Oh, cool.
Lynn's just the sweetest person of all time. I love that
she's
woman.
fantastic. Yeah, incredible stage presence and bass player as well. Yeah.
We just recorded an episode with Lynn, so be on the watch for that here soon. Hint. But yeah, she's just the sweetest person.
Yeah,
Love
they're
that.
such a good band as well.
If I did not have named Black Guy Fawkes, I would have chosen the name Back Up, because that's just the best fucking name of all time.
It's a great name. Yes.
So I think it sounds some mini games, some quick fire games. So
Some
Oh, cool.
1, 2, 3, 4.
guys, motherfucker, we just had some quick and rapid fire questions about
Okay.
everything under the sun.
Uh-oh.
So my first question for you is, when it comes to UK punk, are you more Clash or Sex Pistols?
The Clash.
rock on. As somebody who's gone back in time in music, who are your Mount Rushmore of musical influences that are not from the punk scene?
Not from the punk scene. Tom Waits, Warren Zevon, and Fried Rabbit. Difficult to pick the last one. I'll go for Withered Hand.
We asked Frank this when he was on podcast, but give me your Mount Rushmore shitty American beers.
Oh, I mean, I guess, PBR was the first one that I really drank. And the only reason I drank that all the time was because it was sponsoring Fest. So I had kind of a fondness for PBR for a while, and now I just can't drink it anymore. I actually really like Narragansett. I don't know if that counts as like a shitty beer.
Yep, that
Like,
counts.
I
I'm,
I really
yes,
like
I'm
it.
so bad. I'm so sorry.
Definitely old style, like Chicago handshake. It's old style Malort. You got to do that. And then what's that one that's got like the little face on it? I can't remember the name of it. It comes in a small can and it's got like a guy with a mustache on it.
I'm a borderline alcoholic and I'm not placing it.
Oh,
I know it's not
I
Sam
don't-
Adams. Like it can't be.
no, it's called like something. It's like another character's name, but I can't. Oh, Natty Bones. Do you know Natty Bones?
Oh,
And like Natty Bones, I think. Yeah, I don't know where that's from, but
It's from
that's definitely a shitty beer, but it's a good one.
it's a Maryland beer. Me from Baltimore. That the fact that it's on the list makes me so happy.
No, nice.
so are you like not exactly the game side question? So like you're not a coffee snob, but you're a coffee connoisseur. Are you the same way with beer normally? Like, do you prefer like good beer?
I drink Guinness mostly in the UK, to be honest. I drink Guinness like all the time. That's like my go-to. That's my go-to beer. I used to drink, like IPAs and fruity things, all the kind of nonsense like craft beers. But these days, I pretty much just drink Guinness. But in America, I drink Guinness if it's there, but also I'll drink, whatever, but not PBR. I do not drink PBR anymore.
I'm so personally fucking tired of IPAs because like most breweries, like 75%, that's all they do. And like, I'm like,
Yes.
give me something
do.
different.
Yeah, I'm just born with it.
I'm very seasonal, so usually like during the summer I do like sours and stuff like that, like lighter beers. During the fall, that's with Oktoberfest. Then like winter, that's when I get it like Guinness and all that. So
Yeah.
I'm very seasonal when it comes to it. But now I need to know what was your experience with Malort? Because everybody is traumatized by that. So maybe trauma block for a second.
I like Malort a lot. My friend Joe McMahon, who produced both my records, like he got me to try it the first time. Have you ever seen the video that's like the unaired commercial? It's on YouTube. It's like one of my favorite videos on the internet. It's called like Jepson's unaired commercial for Malort or something. I don't know. But it's just a video where like this guy keeps trying to say the tagline, and the tagline is "I'll have another," and he just can't say the line. Basically, he drinks a lot of shots in Malort, and by the end of it, he's pretty inebriated. But it's just very like comically, it's very well done. So like watching that video, me and Joe were just on tour together, and when we were on tour together, we watched a lot of YouTube videos late at night, when you're traveling or whatever, and he showed it to me at one point. And then obviously I was keen to try it. And I think maybe when I was in Chicago was actually the first time I tried it, or maybe it was at Fest. But it's quite a unique flavor. And the first time I tried it, I was like, oh, that's definitely something. But once you've had it a couple of times, you get quite used to the flavor. Someone once described it as burnt grapefruit to me. And I kind of get that. Like I like grapefruit a lot, and I kind of recognize the flavor. One year I played at Fest, and Neil from the Bomb Pops was playing bass for me at that, and he brought a bottle of Malort, and me and him drank a lot. I mean, I think we killed most of a bottle of Malort before we played, and we were playing at like 12 in the afternoon or something. But that cemented it in my head of like Malort's good stuff, We'll have a good time whenever that comes out. And then he was dressed in some sort of banana suit afterwards, and
A
again,
whole
this was
bottle
like 2 in the afternoon.
a whole bottle of Malort. Yeah.
Yeah, and the sound check. Yeah.
See, my next question was going to be how are your taste buds. I realized the answer to that is what taste buds. Because Jesus Christ, I couldn't do that. My God. But I remember my first time drinking Malort. I think I played a house show. Somebody just handed it to me saying, I asked, what is this? And he said, it's Malort. It's terrible. Try it. I went, all right, bet. So I tried it, and it was alcohol that I have tried. I will say that. But it got me drunk. I ended up ordering like White Castle like that night because I was too drunk. I needed something. Well, we don't believe in this term, but what are your guilty pleasures musically?
Yeah, like you say, like I don't really feel like I've got, I don't really believe in that term in terms of music. I mean, I like doing, I enjoyed doing karaoke at different points in my life. And I used to sing a lot of Miley Cyrus at karaoke.
I love karaoke more than any human probably should.
Yeah, I mean, karaoke is a blast, and it's just fun. I've sung a lot of Miley Cyrus at karaoke. Like "Party in the USA" is a pretty good banger to do, or "We Can't Stop." Just anything from the Bangers record. In fact, is pretty solid. Yeah, apart from that, I don't know. Like I like a lot of like pop music. I suppose I like some of the weird like 80s pop. There's a band from Scotland, from Dundee actually, called the Associates, who are like a kind of weird, dark pop band. Their singer had a super operatic voice, but their music's pop music for sure. I guess could be seen as like a guilty pleasure.
This could probably make an outtake or whatever, but I'm gonna wait, Ed. I'm waiting for somebody from the UK to just say S Club 7 at least once, because I want to just
Close
on
to
that for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I
Because
grew up like, well, I don't know if I want to embarrass myself, but I bought a Spice Girls tape. Like we all had the Spice Girls. I remember I won an Aqua album in a competition that was signed. I had like a signed Aqua. Do you remember Aqua?
Barbie girl,
The
right?
Barbie Girl, yeah. And the singer from Aqua was definitely my first crush. But I had like a signed album of theirs, and I thought that was like the coolest thing. I had a video, like a VHS of them on tour doing something or other. They're probably still a guilty pleasure. I could probably put on an Aqua record, enjoy it.
now the other question is, who's your favorite Spice Girl?
I mean, when I was super young, it was probably Ginger Spice. I definitely thought she was really cool. Pretty sure Fisher Spice.
Mine was Scary, no question, hands down.
Probably
Yeah.
Sporty.
Yeah.
That tracks.
I guess Scottish. I guess punk or that may be also Scotland. Of course, I know you. That Frank Rabbit, and then because I sang this for fucking years, I love Proclaimers
Oh, nice.
because 500 Miles is still the biggest bop of all time.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
I believe our first Scottish guest. So I'm going to ask a question that matters probably only to me. How do you feel about the movie Highlander?
I don't know if I've ever seen Highlander.
Fair enough.
Is it a big film in America?
It's a nerd film. I mean, it's a big nerd film, and I'm a big nerd.
Okay.
So-
No, I don't think I've seen it.
That's fair.
I've not seen Rob Roy either. There's a big film called Rob Roy that came out
Yeah.
in America. I mean, it was an American film, but it's about Scotland.
Yeah.
I've only seen Braveheart once. I don't know, Braveheart's not really a thing over here. I mean, obviously it was a big film when it came out, but I know a lot of Americans who've asked me about Braveheart. They're like, "Oh, what do you think about that?" And I don't really know. Like,
I'm just oddly obsessed with a 80s movie about immortals cutting each other's heads off with swords with a Queen soundtrack, and that's one of my
that
go-to
sounds
things.
that sounds good. I should watch.
It's cheesy, but it's fun. I will say that. I mean, Queen soundtrack.
No,
I think I always seen Braveheart once.
Yeah.
And I like seen it first, but I only watched it like in its entirety once. And I just I love Mad Max, but I just hate Mel Gibson.
yeah, Mel Gibson.
Anti-Semitic piece of shit. I was about to go on a big Mel Gibson tangent, but I'm not going to because I really just fucking hate him.
As somebody who tours the U.S., what's your Mount Rushmore of American fast food? So I know you had to eat some of that on the road.
Does Waffle House count as fast food?
I'll take it.
Okay. Waffle House definitely is up there. White Castle I've enjoyed. Taco Bell I used to like a lot, but I haven't really eaten for a while. What else is there?
In-N-Out, if you have that.
I've not tried In-N-Out. People keep saying it's really good, but I've not tried it.
Definitely worth it. There's Culver's as well. That's like in the Midwest.
I haven't tried that.
It's in a lot of Florida too. I mean, you mentioned Ohio. That I hate it, but there's Skyline Chili.
I haven't tried that.
Yeah, don't. It could be a 3-headed Mount Rushmore. We're fine with that. You eat healthier than
Yeah.
me. It's fair. Well, Billy, man, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. What do you have coming up aside from Pouzza this weekend?
Well, just that tour around Pouzza. Yeah, I'm doing a tour, down from kind of New York, Boston, New Jersey, and then around Pouzza. I've got some stuff coming up in the UK and Europe, and potentially some more stuff in America this year, but I can't talk about it yet because it's not announced. But yeah, just pushing the Crisis Actor record. There's some more videos coming out from that record, and then some more touring. There'll be a lot of touring this year.
Billy, it was surely so much fun just having you on today. I'm glad. I'm really hyped to meet up with you at Pouzza here soon. And maybe at some point we can do a tour together or something like that. If I come over there or you come back over here,
Yeah, let's do it.
let's make this happen.
This show is the brainchild of Black Guy Fawkes folk punk griot. You can find him on all the social medias as Black Guy Fawkes or Black Guy Fawkes Music, as well as on Bandcamp. Merch, music, and ticket sales are how independent music gets sustained, but word of mouth also helps a great deal. The intro and outro are both from the song New American Meltdown by Black Guy Fawkes, so that's legally covered because this is his podcast, and that is his song available on the album Life, Love, and the Bomb. Additional music elements provided by Ben Dumb Production Music. Check out more at bdmusicproduction.com for all your bespoke, royalty-free background music needs. Sound design and editing by Ed Coulard, who appears courtesy of his dog and many, many cats. Cover art by Jacob Matthews, a pal who has been down since day one. Finally, while Fawkes and Friends firmly believes that punk rock is and should be a safe space, we know it can't be safe for everyone without excluding bad elements. So remember,
So tell your local Nazis and your fascists to fuck off.
I was gonna make my back on Trey Anastasio, the lead singer of Fish, but
Why do you know the name of the lead singer of Fish?
because I'm around books all the time, that's why.
Did you see around books?
Wooks.
Wooks. What's a wook?
They are people at shippies that go to festivals all the time, and
Yeah.
like are like vagabonds basically.